Hello, and welcome to day 20 and a little bit of day 21 ish. The monologue, where we talk about the highs and the lows of the day of our great Western adventure. And today was pretty much lows. Oh, well. We made the best of it. We had ended up at a dark site in Riverton the night before because of car trouble, specifically tires. They told us yesterday that we have the tires ready to go, say about 10 o'clock in the morning or so. So we weren't in a real hurry to get up. But when we did, and we're packing the car, found out the tire had gone flat again. Sure. Was able to re-inflate the tire, and then the police showed up and told us what they were. Now, don't get me wrong, they were very polite and actually very understanding, but they told us our campsite was definitely illegal, and they were also more concerned about making sure we were okay than trying to issue us a citation for illegal camping. So don't get me wrong. I have high praise for Riverton Police Department. Actually, I have high praise for Riverton as a town to visit. When I was living in Wyoming 20 years ago, Riverton was, well, the armpit of Wyoming. I thought it was kind of the worst town of any place in the state. Um, it just didn't have anything except poverty and no place to camp and very little regular stores. The downtown was halfway vacant and it just was run down. Well, things have changed. They have really cleaned up the downtown. The commercial development is going very strong, and they have things like Walmart and Best Buy and banks, not just one or two, but a whole bunch, and a lot of small shops in the downtown. And they've redeveloped the downtown with new fixtures and sidewalks and plantings. So it looks really good. Stay in Riverton, unless you're staying in a motel, because there is no place to camp in Riverton. In fact, you have to go like 30, 40 miles in any direction to find anything that you can camp at. But I digress. You want to hear about our adventures of the day. Well, as I said, we had a flat tire that had to re-pump up again. And then the police showed up. Oh, by the way, after the police showed up, we were ready to go. Got in the car, put the key in the ignition, and went click, 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 dead battery. Ah, luckily another person was coming out to walk their dogs, gave us a jump. We got going again. I knew not to turn the engine off at this point. I thought maybe it was because I had run the battery down from pumping up the tire. So we headed into town to the tire shop, and they put four new tires on. Oh, and a new battery too, because it died again when I turned the ignition off in their parking lot. So after dropping $500 or more into car repairs and losing half a day, it looked like we were finally ready to go. So we went and we got lunch at one of the fast food places, and we were just finishing lunch and starting to leave the center of town when my partner noticed the temperature gauge spiking into the red, very high. And this had happened a few times on the trip, but I'd always put water in. I just figured the engine was just kind of running a little bit hot. Well, all I know is I turned the engine off, sat a few minutes, the engine temperature went down, and then we turned the engine back on, and the temperature went straight back high again. So it was like, we're not leaving the we're not leaving Riverton until we get this fixed, because a high temp means that the engine will seize probably very soon, like hours, minutes later. So we went back to the tire shop slash repair place, and they said they were really too busy to handle us, but we could go to the place next door and get a diagnosis. I figured we probably had, with all the rough roads and the stones, that we probably had punctured. At least that's what I hoped. We took it in, and they took a look, and the news was a disaster. We didn't have a broken hose or even my worst fear, which was a radiator link. No, the head gasket had failed on us. And that's the part that just kind of seals all the engine together. And it's not a minor repair, it's not even a moderate repair, it's a heavy duty repair. And they couldn't do this in Thermopolis. They couldn't do this in Britain. Closest place it could be done was 120 miles away in Rollins, Wyoming. Oh, by the prayer is going to be $1,200 to $1,400. Oh, and I called the tow company, several of them. They wanted $700 to tow the vehicle down there. So we were in big trouble. Oh, and the stress levels went through the roof at this point. So it really came apparent after the 45 minutes to an hour on the phone that this car was not going anywhere. In fact, our Subaru had died a peaceful death, at least in town, and it was just not drivable anywhere or repairable. So the question was, okay, what do we do now? We're 600 miles away from home. Well, we called a few of the local places. There was no rentals. Luckily, Hertz had a outfit at the airport in Riverton. But you got to remember, this is the lockdown too. So everybody is not flying. So they're driving. So vehicles are very scarce. And they wanted to put us in a Chevy Spark. By the way, is a sub compact. There was no way. It's pretty much um, four seats and an engine, and that's it. There was no way we were going to get all our stuff into there. Thank goodness someone had canceled their rental, and we got a 2019 Chevy Impala. And We also were up against the deadline too because the place closed for the afternoon at 4 o'clock, and it was already like 2:30, 3 o'clock. So we were really having to make decisions in a hurry, and it became apparent very quickly that we had to do this. And then the other option thing we had to do was what were we going to do with the Subaru? Luckily, believe it or not, there was a recycling yard about 2 blocks north of the repair shop we were sitting at, and they were willing to take our Subaru and willing to give us a little bit of time to unload the Subaru. And and the Hertz people were willing to drive down and pick us up and drive us back to the airport where we could do the paperwork. And yeah, this isn't going to cheap. I mean, rentals usually would be about $100, but it was the only rental in a high demand market. So we ended up paying like $350. That's after all the discounts we got. And we got some substantial. I think if we hadn't had the discounts, it would have been 450, 500. And it was a 1 day rental too, not a week rental, a 1 day rental. Part of the problem also is it's going to be a one-way rental, not round trip. So that way, the airport wasn't close. So 8 miles out to the airport, get the vehicle, do the paperwork, drive back with the Chevy Impala, load it up with all the gear, and then it was like, this is 4 o'clock. We're never going to make it home in the time we have, and we're exhausted, both mentally and physically. Now, the good thing about this rental is it wasn't a calendar day rental. It was a 24-hour rental. So we had from the time we picked up the vehicle to same the next day to get it back to a Hertz agency in our hometown. So what we decided to do was after unloading the Subaru and putting everything into it, and it was just like, oh, it was really a sad moment for me because I love Subarus. I love this Subaru. It done us wonders, and it been great on trips and everywhere. I've grown really emotionally attached to it, but it was really sad to say goodbye. We had to do so. We did not drive all the way back to our hometown. We drove to Casper to the KOA there, which we made reservations even before we left. So we knew no matter what time we got there that it it would be there. And it was just, well, get behind the wheel and drive. Oh, by the way, this Chevy Impala had all the bells and whistles. I mean, it had GPS, power windows, power locks, power seats, heated seats, um, you know, power, power everything. GPS was a nice touch. The only thing, however, that did have that wasn't working was the cruise control, which is the one thing we really needed. Oh well. Hey, the Subaru didn't have cruise control either, so it wasn't something that I missed, but it would have been really helpful. So we drove to the KOA. We just got dinner at another fast food place and just we took out the bare minimum to get through the night at the KOA. And then we were up at 5 a.m. in the morning. So I got to do the intro. Hi, welcome to day 21. This is the monologue where we talk about the highs and lows of the day. And today started out very low. We started at Casper KOA. Okay, done with the intro. So day 21 started at 5 o'clock in the morning. And it was a very uneventful, eventful day. You know, crack of dawn, load everything into the Impala again because we were going home. Didn't need to have anything organized. We just had to keep everything in there. And we drove the rest of the distance to home, pretty much unremarkable. We did stop in Cheyenne for a little bit and took a train video, but and got a lunch there, early lunch, and then we drove the rest of the way. And then when we got home, we had like 2 hours before the rental was due back, or pay another $400. So it was just the reverse. Throw everything out of the car, and then I hopped into the rental. Well, my partner started to try to organize everything and get everything into our house. And I drove it back to the rental place, gassed it up, and got done with 5 minutes to spare. And made my way home. And that was the end of our trip. And yeah, we wanted to spend another 4 days, but that's what happened. It was a great trip. I had a lot of fun. There was definitely some oh, miserable points where, car trouble, disagreements between my partner and I, driving forever distances and hitting a deer and driving late night, not sure where we're going to camp. Those were the lows. The highs, wow, we got some nice samples from the rock hunting. That was neat. We hit a bunch of small thrift stores, which were just nice to just kind of look through. Yellowstone was 3 days of wow wildlife, but especially geysers and magnificent colored pools and the historic Oregon Trail and all of the monuments and the exhibits and all the neat people who stopped and helped us and a lot of other people who just said, hey, how you doing? And to see even a lot more of eastern Nebraska and Kansas, where we didn't even expect to get to. All the neat campgrounds that we didn't know existed, campfires. Yeah, I have to say, of all the trips, this was it was the most problematic, especially when it came to car trouble. But it was a great trip. And hopefully you've enjoyed coming along with us and learning about it. And next video published will be the new video from our New Mexico trip. Here's the link. For my partner and I, this is Danusa. Thank you for joining us. We wish you all the best. And we're not stopping for road trips. A lot more to going on in the next several years. Hope you can join us for all of them. And by the way, as I mentioned. We already got one in the books. Do this, please rate, comment, and subscribe. And see you on the next trip. Okay, that's a long one, but